All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this meeting of the 2018 Budget Committee. I'm calling the meeting to order, and Madam Clerk, we have no regrets. Committee, have we any declarations of pecuniary interest? I don't see any, Madam Clerk. And we have no consent items of any kind, and our first discussion item is the appointment of the 2018 Budget Chair, and we need a nomination. Councillor Elger.
Yeah, I'd be pleased to move Councillor Adams as Budget Chair for the 2018 Budget Committee.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any other nominations? Going once, going twice, 3 times. Councillor Adams, I think by acclamation and default, you have won the post again. I hope it's regarded as a win. I'm going to leave to you on the panel here, on the desk here, the thing I forgot to do, which is to read the mandatory read about when you can speak further about items before the Budget Committee. And I'm going to invite you to... Pardon? Oh, you want me to actually call a vote? Oh, I thought maybe we would just call it good, but all right, all those in favor? And any opposed? And okay, now I can declare it really was unanimous. And I'll welcome you to the chair all the same.
Okay, the thing that was missing was that any member of the public wishing to speak further regarding an issue on the 2018 Budget Committee agenda for today may appear before Council at its meeting on July 10th, 2017 at 7 p.m. when the recommendations from this meeting will go forward for final consideration. If you wish to speak as a delegation, please sign the sheet located at the back of the room or notify the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the Council meeting. Any PowerPoint presentations must also be forwarded to the Clerk's Department no later than noon the day of the meeting. Thank you very much, members of the committee. We have 2 matters of business before us. The first is the 2018 budget forecast and guidelines, and the second is the optimizing the delivery of town programs and services report. And Nancy Sully, I believe you're going to provide us the presentation on the first piece of it.
Just need them to... Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just going to provide a few brief remarks on the 2018 budget process, and thought I would start by reminding everyone of the guideline that Council gave us for the 2018 to 2020 budgets, that they've been prepared with an overall property tax increase in line with inflation. For 2018, we have set the target increase at 1.8%. The Bank of Canada is forecasting a 2% increase. However, we know that inflation's been running below that right now. The most recent number is 1.3%, but Toronto's been 1.9% for May. So we've set it at 1.8. In order to get to that target, we will need to find some reductions. Right now, it would require us to have a town increase capped at 2.34%. So it would require almost $2 million in reductions to meet the target. This is the starting point for the budget. It's not unusual to need to find reductions at the beginning of the process. Currently, our increase is forecast at 3.41%. That's assuming 1% assessment growth. The forecast includes some pressures that we weren't knowing when we prepared the budget forecast last year. The impact of the minimum wage increase, we have included that in the budget before you now, the preliminary budget. It's moving to $14, we believe, on January 1st, 2018. It does include the annualized impact of the private tree bylaw and the municipal enforcement strategy. Those were approved last year as part of the 2017 budget and had future year impacts. The preliminary budget also includes $1.3 million in operating impacts from capital. This includes the cost of maintaining parks and roads through growth, as well as new transit vehicles, software support. It also includes right now a placeholder for a partial year impact of a potential new leasehold library branch in the north, and the partial year impact of Trafalgar Park Community Centre. This slide, I apologize, hard to read, but I did give you a full-page slide. It just gives you by program where the increase sits right now. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. It's difficult to read, but it just shows some of the drivers for the increase as they currently sit. This is prior to staff starting to work on their budgets. Right now, the tax levy increase is $8 million. Just slightly over half of that is in three program areas, the largest being in corporate revenue and expenses at $1.9 million. And that really reflects the capital levy. That's $1.8 million, and it's budgeted in that section. Recreation services right now is showing a preliminary increase of $1.3 million. This reflects the impact of the minimum wage increase. The minimum wage increase will hit the recreation budget rather hard. Right now, we've estimated it at about $800,000. It also includes the partial year impact of the Trafalgar Park Community Centre. And our Parks and Open Space right now has a $1 million increase. It's also feeling the pressure from the minimum wage increase, as well as capital impacts. I showed you before the sort of drivers by program. This just flips it the other way by expenditure type. And right now, the largest driver is our personnel expenses, which account for almost 50% of our budget. This shows an increase based on union contracts. It also has that impact of the minimum wage increase. In total right now, we have inflated the grid to start at $14, and keeping the integrity of the grid intact, it adds $1.4 million to our budget. So over the coming months, we'll be looking at that grid to see if there's a way to minimize the impact on the town. We'll also have to look at our programs, because these are a direct cost of many of our programs, and we'll have to look at our user fees accordingly. We've also added inflation for materials, supplies, etc. The grants and financial expenses has gone down. That reflects the elimination of the debt payment for Joshua Creek Community Centre. That ends in 2017. And then the corresponding development charge funding, because that was 90% funded from DCs, is also impacted in our transfers from reserves. We've included the operating impacts of capital and then our 1% levy, which brings us to the 3.41% after assessment growth. For 2019, we have a significant increase forecast at this time. It's sitting at 6.21%. That's without any assessment growth. It currently includes $3.6 million in operating impacts from capital. And this includes the annualized impact of Trafalgar Park Community Centre, the opening of a new fire station in 2019, an annualized impact if the new leasehold library branch comes forward in 2018, as well as the cost to maintain new parks and roads. It also includes our capital levy and a provision for inflationary increases on wages, materials, and supplies. And it does reflect an additional dollar increase to the minimum wage to bring it to $15 in 2019. For 2020, we have a preliminary forecast increase of 3.55%. This increase doesn't reflect inflationary impacts on any of our material supplies, purchase services. Staff haven't gone in yet and done that. We have put an inflationary increase into our salary line. We know right now we have some operating impacts from capital. Those will be fine-tuned as we go forward. They include the annualized impact of Fire Station 8, as well as the phase-in of the transfer to the building maintenance reserve for the new facilities that are coming on board over the next few years. So when a new facility comes on board in the following year for 5 years, we phase in that transfer to reserve, and that money is used to maintain and ultimately replace the facility at the end of its useful life. The 2020 budget also includes a partial year impact for Southeast Community Centre. That is based on preliminary estimates that were done last year. It'll be revised based on Council's decisions tomorrow night. As well, the capital levy is included, and as I said, there's no inflation right now on our expenditures other than salaries and wages. So just wanted to quickly go over the budget process. Staff are preparing their budgets now, their budget submissions. That'll take place through June and July. We've given staff a deadline of August 4th, and then from there, Finance reviews them with the departments. We'll look at what it means to the town overall when we compile the town budget and start the business plan development. September and October, several meetings have already been scheduled with our executive management team to review the budget and look to see where the increase is coming in at and what steps will be necessary to bring it in line. And the budget committee meetings are scheduled for November and council approval in December. So right now, the release of the budget document is scheduled for November the 21st. There are 4 meetings that have been scheduled. One will be my overview. The second one will be commissioner presentations, 2 meetings for delegations, and final budget committee recommendations on December the 12th, and approval of the budget is slated for December the 18th. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Members of the committee, do you have some questions? Okay. I have, there's a recommended position here that the report be received. I'd like for our committee to also give me the flexibility to work with staff to bring back an appropriate recommended budget for us, dealing with a number of issues, including transit and fees that I think we'll need to be looking at over the next 5 months before we come back. As well, I'll be doing the usual rounds of public consultation, and so I'd appreciate your endorsement of that, that work as well. So could somebody give me such a motion, please? Okay. Yeah, for item number 2. Thank you, Councillor. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. I will move on to item number 3, optimizing the delivery of town programs and services. Mr. Green, I think you're going to present this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll only take a few moments. It goes without saying that the town has a well-earned reputation for prudent fiscal management. Council and staff have a long history of working together to ensure the long-term financial stability of the town of Oakville. Many years ago, Council put in place a capital levy, which would ensure the cost of infrastructure replacement is funded, and this foresight is one of the reasons for our fiscal strength. We've worked diligently to maintain the healthy levels of reserves so that the future taxpayer does not simply bear the cost of our decisions today. As well, the town's tax levy debt is minimal, which reflects our pay-as-you-go philosophy. This approach has helped Oakville earn the reputation of the most fiscally healthy municipality in Ontario, and we need to ensure that we continue to take steps to maintain this position. One of the key ways Council ensures this fiscal sustainability is by adopting a strategic plan that sets priorities to guide decision-making. Council has set a strategic plan for each term of Council that enables us to align our program-based budgeting with Council's strategic goals. Council has set an annual budget target that aligns with those priorities, and staff have consistently met those targets. Back in 2006, the priority was to begin to catch up with facilities that the town needed. And as such, we reflected a higher than average tax increase in those days. When the economic crisis hit, in 2008, Council ensured the town acted proactively to reduce spending and defer expenditures to ensure lower tax increases during a time of uncertainty. In 2012, Council set a goal to keep the overall tax increase within line of inflation. Staff undertook a service review that you'll recall and identified further opportunities to meet this target. At that time, north of $3 million were saved to achieve this goal. Since 2012, Council has achieved 5 consecutive budgets within the rate of inflation within those guidelines. The challenge we now face is continuing that direction for 2018, 19, and 20. We faced a real tough job to meet those guidelines. Council's strategic capital priorities in the near term include additional costs for Trafalgar Park, the Southeast Oakville Community Center, and the new fire station in the Palermo community. Those start to take place in 2019 and 2020 with full integration in 2023. Growth continues to fuel additional costs for new vehicles, new parks, new roads. Provincial legislation, as Nancy's indicated, the new minimum wage of will add about $1.5 million to our budgets. Having said that, staff recognize the importance of Council's goal to ensure the overall tax increases remain within the rate of inflation. However, as I've noted in my report, this means finding about $10 million in savings from the town operations, and this cannot be done quickly or easily given the previous savings that we have had over the years. I expect we will be able to identify ways to achieve the goal for 2018, and I'm confident that we will bring that budget within inflation. But I'm not as confident at this time of 2019 or 2020 without significantly reshaping the organization and the services we deliver. The challenge at this moment is to commit the time of staff to working on that direction is all the other work that we currently have on the go, including the Glen Abbey, the OP review, reconstruction of Lakeshore, hospital demolition, new Southeast Center, opening up Trafalgar. There are many activities which for the next 12 to 18 months will occupy our time. I'm recommending in the report that $500,000 be set aside to support the implementation of our corporate strategy, which will help transform the organization and how we manage our programs to identify opportunities for further savings. I also suggested that the target of implementation of these savings be over a 5-year period rather than over 3, and this may require some assistance through our tax stabilization. Local government services form the core of a healthy, livable community. This must not change, and we must ensure that our model of service delivery is sustainable. And with that, be pleased to answer any questions.
Members of committee, do you have some questions for us? Councillor Elgar, I know you have.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just have a little trouble with $500,000 for this exercise. I would have thought the senior management team already are in place and would know where they're going to work on getting the savings instead
Well, I think
it says tinkering at the edges of existing service models. So
well, I think that's what we've been doing in the past. That has resulted in savings of $2 and $3 million in the past, but it's getting to the point now where I think we have to look at how the town is organized, how the departments are organized, and I see retaining outside services to assist in that. I think when you get into lean exercises, you need facilitation, and we have to do that on top of all the other work to achieve $10 million worth of savings. I would suggest that is a small, well, it's a sizable sum of money considering the work that needs to be done to bring in line where you'd like to see the budgets go the next 3 years. I don't think that's a very large investment.
So we will have to bring in, then you'll be hiring consultants then.
To get this work done, plus everything else we need to do according to our work plans, I would suggest respectfully yes.
Okay, I guess I always think of the consultants are like they borrow your watch to tell you the time.
Well, there is certainly some of that, but there's the reports to be written. There's no doubt that staff will be heavily engaged, but then you have the consultants to do some of that heavy lifting to assist staff. And at the end of the day, bring a report to staff that we can bring to council. Well, I have recommended that $500,000 be taken from the tax stabilization because we need to begin that process.
2017, or you mean
I'm
2018?
looking at starting this summer.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Both of you? Councillor Listrina? Mayor Burton. Mayor Burton can wait. The floor is yours.
Thank you. CAO Green, could you comment about any past experience in other municipalities who went through this kind of exercise, that this is how they went about it, or are we the first?
Oh, we're far from the first. I mean, I've been involved in my time with the town at least in 3 organizational reviews as the town has grown in size. I think one of the things we need to recognize now, again, while we call ourselves a town, we're really city status. And I think we need to move to an organization in both in terms of how we do work and how we conduct ourselves that recognizes the size and complexity of what we do.
So the report you're talking about for the next a 5-year cycle that you're looking at, or the 10?
No, this would be for the next 5-year cycle to accomplish the reductions that council's looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
But I would anticipate the organization structure that we come out with would probably serve us 10, 15, maybe 20 years. Our last major one, actually, I think was done by Harry Henderson in 1992.
Mayor Burton?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the appropriate time, I'm pleased to move the recommendation for approval. I think the payback to council and the taxpayers of saving $10 million at the cost of $500,000 worth of work is worthy of support.
Councillor Chisholm, did you have a question or not?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The $500,000 for the investment for, when we're the main feature of this is to look at the savings of reallocation, whatever the case may be, of $10 million. Is that what the primary driver would be? Or are we looking at the reorganization of the corporation in order to meet the needs within the future of the next 10 years?
Both.
Both? So it is, there's both. So the report on reorganization, when would that be coming forward if this is approved?
I would think that part of the report, which I wouldn't look as the largest part of the report,
Right.
I think looking at our levels of service, how we deliver services, things like that will be the largest part of the report. I would expect to be back certainly with preliminary results in 2018, but with final results taking place in the 2019 budget.
Okay, so what we're saying here, form follows function. So in looking at the functions within the corporation, we will develop a new form that will deliver those services appropriately
Yep,
for the next 10 years. Is that correct?
at least.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any others? Okay, then I have a motion on the floor to support the staff recommendation. Any speakers? Then all those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, that's carried. Okay, is there any other business that any members of the committee wish to bring forward at this time? Okay, then we're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Look forward to working with you over the next budget cycle.